Hello, fellow tarot nerds. Today we're going to talk about the very cool artwork of the Nigredo Tarot deck, starting with a major arcana. My target audience here is people who are familiar with the tarot archetypes already and who are interested in doing shadow work or just curious about this deck and its artwork. So I got this beauty in November 2025 for my 50th birthday, and it's an indie deck that you can find on Etsy, created by Roberto Papavero Crusca, an Italian guy. The artwork was hand-drawn with charcoal on paper, and that took nearly 4 years, from 2020 to 2024. And the process of creating this artwork helped the creator to overcome an abyss where the ground was crumbling under his feet. And in the booklet, there are references to the dark night of the soul, which Nigredo is another name for. It's described as a symbolic death and a process where we integrate shadow aspects of ourselves, our repressed parts. There are, of course, references to Jung and his individuation process. Just in case there are sensitive watchers, I should probably mention that some of these images are rather strong and provocative. There is some violence, some like flesh and organs. It's kind of gory in some of the cards. There's some nudity, some sexuality. So this is not suitable for children, and it may not be to everyone's taste. Okay, so this deck is specifically for shadow work. The booklet gives pointers and exercises for shadow work. What it doesn't give us is meanings for the card, with a couple of exceptions. I think we are supposed to work it out for ourselves. Since it is all about shadow work, I'm thinking that the meanings may differ from the traditional card meanings, but I think they still have some connection to them. And there's a little card here that describes this deck a bit. It says, "The deck you hold in your hands is an invitation to an introspective journey, a path through the depths of your soul. Each card is a powerful symbol, a piece of a puzzle that will help you understand the workings of your psyche. Through the use of this deck, you can access a deeper level of self-knowledge, freeing yourself from fears and conditioning and embracing your authenticity. It is an invitation to immerse yourself in inner alchemy, to transform lead into gold, and to shape your soul." In this video, I'm going to try to at least begin to make sense of the imagery of the major arcana of this deck. I will follow up with videos on the different suits of the minor arcana. So the plan is that there will be 5 videos altogether. And I'm hoping we can make sense of the imagery together. I'm sure there is a lot to uncover, and I'm inviting you all to take part in a conversation about it in the comments. There are multiple layers to these images, and I would love to hear what they open up for you. To me, they seem like something that would show up in a very symbolic dream. The kind of dream where when you wake up, you just know there's something really juicy there to dig into. So, let's dig in. Starting with the Fool. So what I'm thinking when I see this image is that there's a figure emerging from a dark corner of my mind, from the subconscious, from the shadow. It's on all 4s. Is it paws or hooves? Or regular human limbs? I don't know. Could be half human, half creature. It's not a scary creature, but kind of unknown, not fully human, perhaps. Or it might be a human that hasn't learned how to walk upright. Primordial, or like dissociated from the rest of one's personality, not being allowed to mature. It looks very young to me, naive. It's innocent looking, but also kind of a wild card. Like, I'm thinking, is this thing even potty trained? What's it gonna do? The way I see shadow work, it's not necessarily about those really dreadful qualities. We also repress other sides of ourselves, and that could be sides or qualities that just didn't have enough space when we grew up. And because of that, they never got to develop and mature, and didn't get to untangle themselves from unprocessed stuff that they were associated with. And now that side is emerging. Or maybe we need to help it emerge. When that happens, we need to bring it out into the light and fully untangle it, or else we can't understand what drives it. There are impulses there related to all the unprocessed entanglements that made us push it down into a dark corner in the first place. And there could very well be healthy impulses that we need to embrace, but if so, they could still benefit from some integration and from being allowed to mature, which requires for them to be brought out in the daylight. I like this artwork a lot. And I like this card as a shadow work version of the full archetype. And then we have the Magician. This is an interesting Magician card. My interpretation is that it's about how our subconscious interferes with what we're able to make happen. Like the Magician here seems to be asleep, or at least not fully conscious, not aware of what is going on. And something is manifesting here. But what? It's emerging from the breath. I associate that with the fact that breathing is something we do all the time, automatically, habitually. And that applies to manifestation too. Manifestation is not just when we make plans consciously. Everything we do plays a part. Everything that goes through our body and mind. What direction is that going to take? Is it going to be unified or scattered? 3 shapes are taking form here, turning to different directions. Are there opposing forces at play that could block what you want to make happen? So this card could be a call out to be more aware of our patterns, our intentions, our drives, because they have power. They shape our reality. Now, I just want to add a little caveat here with regard to manifestation. I want to make clear that I don't adhere to simplified populistic ideas that we always receive what we send out into the world as individuals. I think it's far more complicated than that. I think we are all intertwined with each other and the conditions of the world we are born into, and we can't just magically wish conditions away. So for me, anything having to do with manifestation is applicable within those boundaries. High Priestess. Look at that facial expression. She's dead serious. 2 different interpretations here. The first one is she's the guardian of information that she's not sure you can handle. You need to convince her that it's safe for you to uncover it. She's the gatekeeper. That makes me think of parts work in IFS, internal family systems therapy. She's a protector that you need to convince that it's safe for you to communicate with an exiled part. Second interpretation, deep down you have picked up on something intuitively that you have yet to acknowledge. There's resistance to it, but you need to listen to it. She's looking at you with this dead serious expression because it's vital for you to take this seriously, to stop neglecting your inner knowledge. Here we have the Empress, and we can see fertility and creation and nurturing here. That's classic. The egg, 4 breasts. There's some efficient breastfeeding opportunities there. The collar and the throne indicate the status of an empress. Apart from that, she's naked, unshielded, and it doesn't seem to bother her. She's not afraid of being naked and vulnerable. The body language is rather confident in a nonchalant way. I could easily imagine her saying, "Yes, so what? I'm naked and I have 4 titties. Just freaking deal with it. And I'm thinking that creation and creativity requires nakedness and vulnerability. And that might be something to explore as a pointer. I'm also thinking the drive of creation, the power of creation. Maybe picking this card indicates that you need to reconnect with that. As for the shadow work, the imagery doesn't give me very clear pointers. It could be many different things. This is the archetype of the mother, so we could dig into our relationship with our own mother, or our own mother role, if that is applicable, or confront our ideas and ideals about motherhood, gender roles perhaps, or the anima if you're a man. That is your inner woman, according to Jung's ideas about balancing male and female aspects of the psyche back in the early 1920s. As most of you probably know, Jung has been very influential with regard to shadow work. Or if we are creators, maybe we need to reflect on our relationship to creativity, or ideas about productivity, a more far-fetched interpretation that doesn't quite fit with the body language, but maybe as a reverse reading with this abundance of breast that she just gives and gives. Does she get enough nourishment to supplement what she gives? Could it be about overprotectiveness? Too much nurturing? Maybe you need to break free from that at some point, regardless of whether you are the giver or the receiver. Or maybe you need more nurturing. Depending on context, it can be a lot of different things. I guess we all need to figure out what it is that we need to explore and disentangle in our own shadow work. This is one of my favorite cards of this deck. The Emperor. I'm thinking that this is an internalized father figure or authority figure, a role that we take on in order to deal with something or take on leadership or responsibility. And one way of seeing it is that she wears him almost like a hat, like a uniform hat that she puts on as she takes on a specific role. Maybe not an entirely comfortable hat. It's interesting to look at the interaction between them. She holds on to him carefully. Is that so that she can feel safe? Or is she keeping him safe by holding him? Can we play with those different perspectives here? Would that open something up? Because he holds on to her too. Why? Affectionately? Or so that he won't fall off of her? Fatherly, to show her support? Or to pull the reins, steer her in the right direction, to be in control? Is it supportive or is it restraining her? Maybe both. Can she choose to put him down and pick up a different persona if needed? Would she want to? It looks like mutual caring or affection to me, and also vulnerability. One narrative could be about societal norms and structures and well-established routines for how to do things and to be in charge of one's life and or over other people or a project. We do take on roles and scripts for good and bad. It simplifies things. It gives us access to established routes. It also means, at least to some extent, that we are limited to working within a set system. Is it worth it? Is it how we genuinely want to do things? Do the scripts give us the security we are after? Or does it make us feel like we aren't really autonomous, that somebody else holds the reins? It could also be a narrative about insecurity or fear with regard to taking on the responsibility in a situation. So what are our insecurities with regard to taking the lead, being in charge, or just being on top of a situation? I'm also thinking about imposter syndrome. That would explain the tininess of that emperor. What if people discover that the emperor is really a super tiny little figure, just like the Wizard of Oz? The feeling of not being good enough. The little emperor figure and the woman carrying him are both aspects of the same person. The tiny little emperor is holding on to his carrier so that he won't fall. Thanks to being carried, he can appear to be on top of the situation. or they can both do so together. But he's afraid of falling or to have his tininess found out. She's holding on to him, or to the role and the procedures, the scripts, as a safety blanket, but also to protect that inner persona. He feels safe with her. If the querent is a woman, it could be about her relationship with her animus, that is, the male aspect of her psyche, according to Jung. I guess gender roles could be involved here, related to the father archetype, but I don't think they necessarily have to be. It could also be about authority or qualities associated with that. Generally, for an Emperor card, I would also consider the possibility that the issue has to do with having to relate to somebody else's leadership or to an authority. How is our relationship to authority figures? But with this deck, I get a very strong feeling that it's about inner parts work. I think the imagery encourages looking at this from the perspective of inner parts work. Talking about internalized scripts and norms makes it sound so abstract and impersonal. This image makes it come alive in a very personal way. You can see these personae relating to each other. The more I look at this card, the more tangibly I feel that these two figures really care about each other. This woman and her inner emperor persona. I feel that they are mutually protective of each other. They're in this together. It's like they're going, we can do this. It's you and me against the world. This is the most relatable emperor card I have ever seen. And it keeps growing on me. And I kind of feel that I deeply care about them too. The Hierophant. This has sci-fi vibes to me. It looks like some advanced alien race has come to teach primitive ape-like humanoids. We can see a teacher or spiritual leader hidden behind an ornate cloak, surrounded by disciples sitting by the teacher's feet. The teacher's face is behind glass, like an astronaut or a deep-sea diver, and we can't see the face behind it. Maybe this mysterious teacher figure comes from the depths of our subconscious. And instead of hands, we can see crawfish claws. I've heard that the crawfish traditionally depicted in the moon card stands for primal memory emerging from the depths of the unconscious. And maybe this teacher is here to help their disciples get familiar with their own primal nature, to integrate it. A knowledge that is veiled in mystery to them, hence the cloak and the mask. This would make the card a call out to dig deep into our primal instincts in our shadow work, to untangle reactive patterns that no longer serve us, and maybe get some kind of mentor for the process, like a qualified therapist or Dharma teacher. Or maybe it's an inner teacher. Or for somebody who is in a teacher role or a therapist role, it could be an invitation to untangle reactive patterns that are still there, hidden in the unconscious, and that might distort the relationship with the students or clients. I could also see an alternative narrative, like a dark side of the Hierophant. I'm getting the sense that this teacher is highly mystified. And that can create a distance and possibly some weird dynamics. So this could be like sycophant sitting at the feet of their master. Who or what is behind the mask? It's more than a mask, it's an entire costume that encapsulates the teacher, a uniform or ceremonial outfit that not only makes him or her or them untouchable, but may also constrain them. Maybe things are getting a little too rigid. Protected by that cloak, untouchable, not in touch with reality, also anonymous, knowledge as something mysterious, cloaked. Where is the accountability? But I think I'm leaning towards the former interpretation, pointing to getting to know the depths of our subconscious. So what do you think? I'm curious. Lovers? This makes me think of codependency, trauma bondedness, fear-based commitment, hanging on hard to one truth or path, grabbing it and clinging to it as if life depended on it. Are we committed to something based on fear? Are we holding on to something so tightly that we can't see straight? Are we in it for the right reasons? In a relationship, are we holding on to each other so tightly that none of us have the space to grow? Are we holding on to a project or an idea too tightly? What would happen if we were to let go a little? Are we afraid that things would fall apart then? So maybe it's time for a reality check. Would they really? Or would they flourish with more space? Or would we open up to better options that we are now unable to see? Chariot. So this looks kind of like a third eye opening to me. The regular eyes are shut, and this person is led by the mouth. The hair indicates movement. But what kind of color is that? Does that have any significance? I don't know. Maybe that's the wheels. Yeah, that could be. So, could be like being the vehicle for something. Unconsciously, intuitively, letting things unfold, not getting in the way. Things moving forward, but not necessarily according to consciously made plans. Follow your intuition rather than your strategic plans. The process knows the way. The destination might be unknown, moving into unknown territory, or winging it, because these are moths. So it could also be like a moth to a flame, self-destructive. But the third eye opening kind of speaks against that. And there is also this notion of moths being attracted to the light, which, well, there's a lot of symbology around that. The notion of moths being attracted to the light, which makes people associate moths with intuition and like being drawn to the light. That is factually wrong. Actually, the light disorients moths by making them change direction unconsciously due to a dorsal light response. It's an automated response to turn their backs to the light, because in natural light, that's how they instinctively know what is up and down. So when there is a much closer light source, that makes them circle around it. Not because they are attracted to the light, but because they keep turning their backs to it. So this kind of ruins a lot of myths around moths for me. So we don't see a light source in this card, so maybe these moths are allowed to keep track of what is up and what is down. Then they would be able to navigate. But if there is another card next to it, like a moon or a sun, they would be disoriented. I don't know if the deck creator knew about this new research. Probably not. But I, as a reader, do know, and I would assume that the divine communicating through the cards would know that. So in going forward, make sure that you follow your intuition rather than a conditioned reactive instinct. Make sure that your guiding light is true, not fake. That's my take on the card. Strength. Bit unusual as a strength card, but I like it. The woman's body language gives me the vibes of vulnerability, about insecurity, uncertainty, feeling exposed. She is, in fact, exposed here. She's hunkering a bit, cradling the bunny to make it feel safe. And the bunny looks pretty relaxed to me. The woman herself looks very vulnerable, but I would say that vulnerability is a strength. Also, giving shelter to others despite feeling exposed and insecure oneself, that is strength in my book. Maybe it's her own vulnerability that allows her to be open to that. So it's not despite her vulnerability that she's strong, but thanks to it. I guess it could also be a mask in the sense of taking on a sheltering role while needing one. Or she could be regulating her own emotions by cuddling the bunny. Maybe the bunny is her own fear and she's soothing it, as if holding her inner child. So let me know your thoughts. Hermit. I love this Hermit card. I'm thinking opening up to wisdom. Also a shredding of self. Shredding your mask, your ego, your sense of an individual self. All that needs to go away to give space for wisdom in the shape of the owl here. You are not the one who achieves wisdom. Wisdom was already there within, deeper than the shell that was your persona. It has to be liberated from you. Once it's liberated, it can take wings and fly free. But you can be a vessel for it, a nest for it. You can give it a home. Just don't mistake it for yours. Wheel of Fortune. Faith is knocking on your door. The door knocker is an Ouroboros. I don't know exactly how to pronounce that in English. Sorry. The self-sustaining cycle of death and rebirth, destruction and recreation, change as the one constant. In the lace here, there's an eye that is also a wheel. The text orientation is ambiguous, so it could be rota, wheel or cycle, or Hathor, the goddess of love. And maybe that's inferring to the quotation by Mary K. Greer, Rota Taro Ora Tora Ator. The wheel of tarot speaks the law of Hathor, or the cycle of tarot teaches the law of love. I don't know if I'm missing other references here. Please share your own thoughts. I would love to hear them. So here we have the Justice card. There's a girl here who has a knife, and there are two bowls, one with a brain and one with a heart. And I'm thinking that in justice, both brain and heart are needed in equal measures. And it could also be a dark image of justice, where you are so meticulous in dividing things equally that you are taking things apart and losing sight of the whole, thereby killing what keeps it alive. Or a polarization between brain and heart, obstructing the path to justice. A lack of nuances, or a need for nuances. The Hanged Man. A chrysalis. And I think that's a great metaphor for that suspended state of getting ready for transformation. And the little guy in there looks terrified. And I would be too. He can't move. He probably feels stuck, trapped, passivated, restrained. But that's a necessary part of the process. So patience is needed. The transformation will happen, just not yet. You will be changed in the process, and it's going to take some time. Death. Transformation, here with the butterfly wings. Classic, a shredding of identity or self, something new taking wing. I've seen many other death cards pointing to both the death of something and the new life of something else at the same time. This does it beautifully, I think. Look at how carefully this skeleton butterfly holds the old self while taking it off. As if saying, well, you served me well, thank you, and have a nice rest, old buddy. There's the mask. Little face. And here we have the Temperance card. So instead of the usual imagery of pouring liquid from vessel to vessel, here there's some kind of fog circulating through the body, through holes in it. We see one hole in this person's back, and then I assume there is one on the other side, on the chest as well. And there is light coming out from this hole. So instead of the external balancing act, there seems to be an internal alchemy going on here, which is really suiting for a shadow work deck. And we can say that's an embodied process. And the person is standing in the water instead of on the land next to it. So the word submerged comes to my mind, but it's not too deep. not more than can be handled. I'm also thinking that a gas form is more volatile than a liquid form, and that makes sense in a deck focusing on the shadow side of things. The fog is kind of thick and not that clean looking. It's black smoke. But then again, there's also light coming out through the process. So a transmutation is unfolding. Maybe it feels like having to deal with lots of yucky shit coming up and being volatile, but through the process it will get clearer. And we are not in it too deep, and the water is calm, so we can stand firmly and be with the process. I think this might be a depiction of the alchemical process that the Nigredo is, the blackening, the necessary descent into darkness, the dissolving of ego structures that is necessary before spiritual grace can occur. Obstacles are removed, there's an unclogging, hence the black smoke. In that process, energy is released, and that is probably the light we can see in the image here. The Nigredo, the blackening, is followed by 3 other stages: albedo, the whitening; citrinitas, the yellowing; and rubedo, the reddening. So the white light appearing after the black smoke might be a hint toward the shift into albedo. I'm not super familiar with alchemy though, so I could be missing important clues here, or totally misrepresenting something. So I would love it if someone else shares their knowledge about it and how it informs the reading of this card. Because I do suspect that it has to do with alchemy. I could be wrong. The Devil card. It's a humanoid character with 2 creatures on a leash. Hellhounds or demons with dog-like bodies and humanoidish heads. And one of them has a vertical mouth or maw. The gaps are basically splitting their heads in halves. It's like they are grasping for so much that it kind of takes over and takes away who they are. And instead of persons, they are just huge gaps of desire. The owner looks maliciously pleased about having those creatures on a leash. They are chained to their desires. They don't need to be held tightly. It doesn't seem to occur to them that they could be freed from their chains, or that they would be better off without the chains. The Tower. This is a rather classical depiction. A tower in flames, smoke coming out from it, dramatic clouds around it. I don't see any people coming out from it. We don't know how much of a disaster this is, how many people are affected, how many people were involved to begin with. If they were all stuck in there or managed to escape, but maybe that's not relevant. It's a tower going down, and that's a strong symbol. Maybe there just wasn't any need to add more hints at shadow here in this card, because it's so much a shadow card already. Maybe it's intentionally kept clean with just the building and no people in order to emphasize the breaking down of built-up structures, or to make us feel that we are the building that is breaking apart, because that's classic too. Like in dreams, if you dream about a building, that's usually yourself. This is the one card that is actually thoroughly described in the booklet, as it's seen as central to the Nigredo process. So I think I'm going to read that in the booklet. Okay. It says here in the image, destruction and liberation, the Tower. The Tower card in the tarot is a powerful symbol of sudden change, upheaval, and revelation. It represents the necessary destruction of old structures and illusions, paving the way for new beginnings. The Tower's energy aligns with the Nigredo face, highlighting the breakdown that precedes transformation. And then there's a reflection exercise. Identify a period in your life that felt like everything was falling apart. How did this experience lead to personal growth and transformation? And there's a guided meditation. Envision yourself standing before the tower. As it collapses, feel the release of old patterns and structures, Embrace the chaos as a precursor to renewal. Imagine the debris clearing away, revealing a new fertile ground for growth, new light and growth. Oh man, my old eyes have trouble reading this italicized little text here. There's also some information about the Tower's role in shadow work. It says, the Tower card's energy is integral to shadow work. It forces us to confront uncomfortable truths and break down illusions, leading to a more authentic and integrated self. 1. Facing illusions. The Tower challenges us to let go of illusions and face reality, no matter how uncomfortable. Identify an illusion or false belief you have been holding on to. Reflect on how this belief has impacted your life and what truths you need to accept to move forward. 2. Embracing change. The destruction depicted in the Tower card symbolizes the necessary upheaval for transformations. Embracing this change is crucial for growth. Exercise. Reflect on a recent crisis or challenging period. Write about how this experience has influenced your understanding of yourself and your path in life. 3. Building anew. After the destruction comes the opportunity to rebuild on a more solid foundation. The Tower reminds us that from chaos comes the possibility of renewal. Exercise. Visualize yourself rebuilding your life after the collapse of the Tower. What new structures and beliefs do you want to establish? How can you ensure these are more aligned with your true self? Okay. Then we have the star. So we can see a brightly shining star above a river that looks relatively calm and a boat containing a woman with her back towards the star. The turned back made me wonder, especially since this is a deck for shadow work. I was thinking there might be a twist to it, not just the regular meaning of hope. So I was thinking that I would like to know in what direction the boat is going. Because I can't tell really. Maybe someone who knows more about boats can tell, I don't know. Please tell me in the comments if that's the case. So like if she's heading away from the light, maybe this is about not seeing opportunities that are presenting themselves. Or maybe there is hope, but you're going in the wrong direction. If the boat is heading towards the star, it's still interesting that the person in the boat has their back toward the light. Following a guiding light, but blindsidedly, blind faith, strong faith or trust? Or is she just not able to see the light, even though she's getting there? I was also thinking that when rowing, you turn your back to the direction you are going. So you may not see the destination, but you are getting there. If she was, in fact, rowing the boat, I would perhaps say that looking at goal images and making wishes won't get you there. Instead, you need to focus on the process and actually do the work. She isn't rowing, though. It looks like she's just sitting there. So maybe the stream will take her there anyway, without the work. Or maybe she has already put in the hard work by dragging this boat on land for a long time, and now she can finally enjoy a moment of rest, trusting that the boat is already put in motion. Or maybe she trusts the elements. I guess we don't know. In a spread, the direction could probably be determined by other cards in the spread, how they are positioned in relation to each other, how motifs in the cards are oriented, but maybe that's overthinking it. What do you think? Maybe it's as simple as a reminder that the guiding light is still there in the darkest of nights, even if we can't see it right now. I think that's what I'm gonna go with. So here's the moon card. It looks like somebody is being carried away by dark forces. Not willingly. We can see a hand stretching up here, trying to resist. So maybe it's a metaphor for being misled by illusions, which would fit with the moon card. What is hiding in the dark, our subconscious, needs to be dealt with, or it will grab us at some point. I often think of the moon card as the shadow work card, indicating that shadow work is needed. And, well, it seems pretty urgent here. The sun card. This geometric figure is impossible. It's an optical illusion. It's one of those well-known paradox figures. So it's odd to put that in a sun card where nothing is supposed to be hidden. Some of my early thoughts were like maybe this card would be a call out to question our ideas about happiness. Are we striving for the impossible? Or is it the case that what we think makes us happy is illusory happiness? Are we making things unnecessarily complicated? Are there paradoxes in our beliefs that we need to shed light on? But none of that feels quite right. From a shadow work perspective, it kind of makes sense, but it doesn't do justice to a sun card. Also, what kept bugging me is that the person in the picture belongs to the same world as the paradox figure. So in his world, it actually isn't impossible. It's there in a tangible way for him, not just a flat image. And he's the one marking it as something noteworthy with that gesture. And it would be odd for him to point it out as an illusion because to him it isn't, right? So could he be pointing it out to say, hey, it turns out that the impossible is actually possible after all, because look, here it is. That would fit a sun card, but we also know that this person in the image doesn't exist either. That world is an illusion, and we know that this geometric figure is an illusion. So that bothered me. But then I remembered that it can be both, and that's a paradox in itself. It's the paradox that enlightenment is all about. And enlightenment is supposedly eventually following the Nigredo process. So that's kind of relevant. Form is emptiness, and emptiness is form. That's essential to enlightenment, and that's the big miracle. So I'm thinking that this card is a reminder to those going through the dark night of the soul to see and appreciate the miracle that is right in front of them. And I can relate to that, practicing Buddhist meditation. There are phases in the practice where we have worked so hard to see through things that it can tip over into nihilism. We might question if anything matters at all. It's all just a big illusion. Nothing has a distinct continuous self. It's all so fleeting, nothing lasts, and there isn't even any thingness there to begin with. So there is nothing there that could last. There is no ground for anything else to be distinguished from. And trying to hold on to anything just causes suffering. And yet, experience exists. Cuddling with kittens is here to be experienced. It's all empty, but it's also here anyway. The existence is a paradox, and that's the miracle right in front of us. And if we hold on too tightly to it being empty, we miss out on that miracle. So it makes sense to me to see this card first and foremost as a reminder of the miracle right in front of me. From a Nigredo perspective, that actually makes a lot of sense for a sun card, and I think it's profound. Judgment. This has doomsday vibes to me, but I kind of like it. Like it's kind of a wake-up call that we can't ignore. Like you just can't ignore that. And it's forcing us to rethink what is important. I guess we could also see it as pointing to polarizations in how people judge each other, and maybe our own black and white thinking. But I think it would be most useful for me as a card that put things into perspective. What matters? What is important? What can I stand with? What imprint do I want to make? What pattern do I want to set for myself and for the world? And lastly, the World card. So the classic wreath around the woman in the World card is here made up of the woman's legs. And that's a nice little twist there, with this hanging on top of a gate. Like when we walk through that door, are we going out in the world or back into the womb of this woman here? Is there a difference? So it's time to open yet another door and work through a new layer. It's very suitable for a world card. The completion is a new beginning. Very cool. I love the artwork of this deck. I think it's beautifully made. It's very expressive. I'm sure there are more to these images than what I have come to think of and mention in this video. There are probably references that I'm not picking up on, so please feel free to disagree with my interpretations in the comments section, or make your own video. I would love to hear what you think. How would you read these cards and how would you work with them? And thank you so much for watching. I'll be back with videos on the different suits of this deck. Well, till then, take care and be well. And as always, I wish you lots of joy in your practice.